How you doing? 313 Airbrushing Studio. It's Mike Dominguez with the latest edition of Peace of Mind. Today, I'm going to give a little update. My latest piece is currently hanging up right here. I'm doing that one for a charity event here in the Central Valley. So it's going to go up for auction in about 2 weeks. So I'll let you know how that works out. Also, the other thing going on right now is I'm working on 3 other commission pieces. 2 for anniversaries recently. One celebrating 32 years and the other one celebrating 16. So I'm working on those, and I'm also doing the Art Hop in Lodi next week. So if anybody's around the area, the Lodi Art Commission, we'll have 5 of my pieces hanging up there, and again the proceeds go to Autism Speaks. So that's what's going on with me right now. This edition and episode is going to be scratching the records of patterns in your life and DJing that life to a positive place that you want it to be. I started watching my friends over at Speaker Spankers on their YouTube channel, so if you get a chance, go check them out over there. Good people. But they were talking about DJing, and I was also watching her at an after party. And you know, you sit there and you watch DJs, and they've got the tuned turntables, they've got a computer up, they're watching the crowd, you know, they're keeping up with what's going on everywhere. And I started thinking to myself, you know, how many times do you run into patterns in your life that you just like, something happens and you hit play and you start running a pattern that is just very destructive or non-productive or just pity. Sometimes it's just a pity pattern that if you do this, then somebody will give you that, or you could say, you know, something or other. And how many times would it behoove us to just stop and maybe scratch that record a bit, you know, and change that pattern around, you know? But in order to do that, you've got to kind of be a good DJ in your own life, you know. You need to be able to pay attention, but you also have to have, you know, your 2 turntables ready to go, you know, so that way when you start playing that pattern, you can flip on over and go straight to the next, you know, a better pattern, something that'll boost up the crowd. It'll get you going. If you start noticing, like, you're looking around and maybe the crowd's just not amped up the way it should be, and the crowd, I mean yourself, you know, you just don't feel good. You're running that pattern of, oh poor me, or did you see what they did to me, or something along those lines. And you know, you could get really good at running those patterns to the point that you might even go so far as to know how to trigger other people's patterns, and either they give you something, or you can even blow up an entire day with somebody, you know, or other people in your lives. Like, if I play this pattern, I can completely ruin anybody's day in my area, and then I'll have a good excuse to sit around all day and eat pizza and watch movies, or feel bad and say, you know, see what happened because of this or because of that happened outside of myself, when in fact you can actually understand that, you know, life is going to throw things at you like that, and you're the DJ of your own life. You could stop, scratch that record a bit, you know, it's like, and no, we ain't doing that, or, you know, flip to the other one. But like I said, DJs, they've got the 2 turntables, they've got a computer, they're looking at how many beats per second, they're looking at how it's working as far as jamming the audience, and if it's not working, they flip it. They have a playlist ready to go, and kind of, you got to DJ your own life. You got to get your playlist ready to go, so that way when life throws you something and wants to put a bad record on for you, you can flip it over to another one. But this takes work, so that's why a lot of people don't do it. They just run those patterns. So it kind of helps every now and again if you have people running life with you, that they may notice you're playing that record again, and they might just, you know, bump that table for you. And if not, if you have people in your life that you're running with, I have a group of individuals that I run life with, and I've told them, hey, call me on my BS. Call me out when I'm in that pattern. Bump my table, you know, hit it, you know, so maybe the needle will skip, or maybe it'll disrupt it. And if that doesn't work, then tell the DJ to put on a new jam, you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say to you. You got to have people in your life also that are ready to go, and you may have had them trained on these patterns. So you got to stop them, you know, and say, hey, I'm running a pattern right now, and it ain't good. I need you to, when you see me do this, say something. I'm catching it this time, so next time go ahead and flip it up for me. But like I said, you got to have them in your life every now and again to say, hey, DJ, flip it to a new beat. You know, no one's any distraction. I'm not going to throw a bonbon at you and give you some chocolate and maybe some dopamine inside your brain. That's what a lot of people do, man. They see those distractions. They get down and they see the commercials of life, you know, of, hey, have this beer and, you know, eat this candy. You'll feel better. You'll have friends again. You know what? Be the DJ. Be yourself. And say, hey, I don't need that pattern in my life to wreck my life. I need to just flip on a new record where I felt good about my life and then move in that direction and then see how that works out for you. I can tell you that it will work out for you, but again, it's like working out. It's like going to the gym. It's like getting in shape. It takes work, and you'll feel the pain the next day probably and wonder, why did you do this to yourself? But when you start seeing those positive results into your mind, your family, your relationships with other people, and I don't mean like outside of, you know, like and you might have bad work relationships, and guess what? Sometimes those people just aren't going to matter. You got to sit there and say, how about the people close to me? How about the ones at ground zero that I let the people at work affect me, and now I'm blowing it up at ground zero, and you got to stop that. You got to say, those are the ones who are important, and those are the ones I'm DJing my life for. And if you don't, then you got to at least take care of yourself. And you got to DJ yourself in a positive way to make sure you can smile when you get up in the morning and look at the person in the mirror and say, hey, I love you and I love what you're doing. So, to recap, basically, you gotta, you know, it's about DJing your own life, having a set list of records you could play in a moment's notice to flip over in case something in life, if life decides to slip a bad disc in there and you start playing a bad pattern, you gotta have a positive one that you go, you know, automatically go straight to and start pumping up the jam and get things rolling again. All right, so I hope everybody's having a great time and a great life. I'll talk to you next week with a whole nother episode. And like I said, if you get a chance, go over to my buddy over at Speaker Spanker's YouTube channel. Check them out. Tell them Mike Dominguez sent you. And don't forget, keep showing them Colgate, okay? Bye.